Hello and welcome to this cybersecurity quick pitch video from Robustel. It's a brief tour of Robustel's process and accreditations that are designed to try and help our system integrator and OEM partners that we have in our channels safe from some of both the bureaucratic and also the technical threats that we all face in the realm of cybersecurity. So just for information, there is a PowerPoint version of this brief video. It's a longer version, and some may find it useful to keep on file as perhaps a reference to some of the cyber measures, or indeed we have had people kind of use it as a template to do their own specific variant. So that is a document that is available. So cybersecurity in Robustel, it seemed a good thing to do to define the attack surfaces. So where do Robustel have something that could be in the way of malicious actors? So Robustel's long-standing operating system, RobustOS, Linux-based OS, which is in essence, it's almost a distribution, given that it's the kernel plus some custom code. You then got RobustOS Pro, which is all Debian-based. It's a really smart leveraging of the existing operating system plus Debian. We have RCMS, which is the cloud platform. The hosted version is all in Microsoft Azure. There is a RCMS stack version, which companies can host in their own environment. And of course, there's the actual hardware itself. The box is typically ARM or MIPS-based low-cost Linux computers. So in this quick pitch, we're going to take the evidence pack approach. We're just going to give you a list of accreditations and processes that are in place to build up a degree of confidence that many of the right things are being done, and that's been audited by third parties to achieve the certification, the accreditation. And the truth is, some of this can be very, very complicated. So, deep into the bowels of networking and encryption. So for many people, there has to be a compromise. And so putting lots of pieces of evidence on file can be a very effective due diligence. So I'm going to whiz through these very quickly. Anytime you need to speak to Robustel about any of these topics in depth, you can, of course, contact them anytime. So first things first, there's plenty of standards to choose from, but 62443 is a obvious contender for Robustel. So security by design, covering the process and best practice, and specific accreditation from Bureau Veritas to show that the processes have been monitored, documented, and passed as cyber secure. The other major thing that's happened recently is a strategic alliance between Robustel and a company called Bulletproof in the UK, quite a famous cybersecurity company. And Robustel works with Bulletproof on an annual basis to penetration test the core software products. So these are the latest tests on the RobustOS operating system. The full penetration test is available. Any of these are available under NDA, so please reach out if you need those. So no risks of any severity in RobustOS. RobustOS Pro, very similar outcome. And also RCMS, Robustel's Robustel Cloud Management System, which is the router management environment, the hosted version being in Microsoft Azure. So that's a little bit more like online application testing as opposed to the operating system tests, which are more about device testing. A little bit of a curveball, but certainly a very good signpost. So Robustel were the first company in the world to achieve 61162.460 edition 3. This is very maritime specific, so unless you're in that world, you're probably not familiar, but it basically affects or is around the scope of devices on the bridge of a ship, especially relating to critical systems, ECDIS systems for charts, electronic charts, and the like. So, yeah, it was a great achievement. And it's actually serving Robustel very well with its flagship MG460 product. There's a security narrative on Robustel's cloud platform, and it actually doubles as a really good description of how the system is built. So if you needed to understand a bit more how you build a platform that can scale from not so long ago, one device up to 150,000 now, and growing every day, every week. There's more and more devices being added. So it's an interesting case study on how to leverage modern cloud technologies. There's also device quietness has been done. It's a fairly rudimentary test, but we thought it valid nonetheless. One of the claims or one of the things that people can be concerned about is secrets being leaked to somewhere else in the world. So what we did is we set up a device to be configured to have no outbound traffic. We did this in partnership with a famous MNO. They put a probe trace on at the APN and monitored the traffic for 24 hours, and the outcome was as expected. And obviously 24 hours isn't extensive, but it's to kind of prove the point that whether it's 24 hours, days, weeks, months, this is the kind of test that you, anyone who wants to validate the technology can be doing and having very open conversations about whatever the results are. But certainly we're not in the position of finding conversations to third parties for no apparent reason. Friendly Wi-Fi accreditation. This is a little bit more about content filtering and clean browsing, I think is the right terminology. Technically, it's a description really of our implementation of DNS over TLS, but certainly relevant to the broader conversation. And really the thing that should be happening with a typical project, and the conversation that is really necessary is not about a router. It's not Robustel's routers don't ship with IP addresses. That is all into the domain of the network operator. You could penetration test them. You can use private IP addressable SIMs. You can disallow internet breakout completely. So a lot of the more practical and broad brush approaches don't really pertain to the router. But of course, we do everything we can to provide those assurances. And although this is a quick pitch, it's worth briefly mentioning that what we have here has been used by utilities companies, the big users of this technology for years, which is just to build a private interconnect between your application service and your airtime provider. You disallow any communication to the internet, and you use TLS end-to-end from the application server to the end device. So the integrity of what's been transmitted is checked. And that's a pretty good security posture as a very simple starter for 10. So, but there are many ways to skin this cat. You can overlay VPNs, all sorts of things. So beyond the scope of today, but it's interesting to note that this particular solution was used in the UK for 3,000 sites, and that infrastructure was considered national critical infrastructure in the UK. And by following due process, penetration tests, and doing the right things, the project was very successful, and it's deployed with no security issues. And that brings us on to a few more reference cases. Really, the truth behind a lot of the common cybersecurity narrative is, if you follow basic good practice, you'll tend to have no problems unless you are really being targeted, in which case it can be a more complex and a physical security issue as well as just a logical one. But as you can see from the list, all around the world, tens of thousands, or there's actually millions of instances of Robustel around the world today. And all of those projects and many, many more have been implemented with zero security issues. So just a quick note on where we are with cybersecurity. It's constantly evolving. If ever you want to discuss it, there's a very open door to the conversation. So I hope that was useful. Any questions, to the usual place, and thanks very much, and bye for now.